Welcome once again to the channel. I'm your host Octane, and today we take a look at possible deck combinations. First and foremost, let me just say the new mechanics for Gem Crush 2.0 is not too bad. However, as you can see from my screen, you can't really see much. You can't see the bosses. You only can see one boss at any given time on my iPad. This section just below where you've got your stores, all the leaderboards, it's just crammed with all that useless information. I don't really need to see the frenzy clock being counted down for frenzy. I don't need to see that. I don't really need to see the prestige all the time. I don't really need to see that. That can be smaller. The screen can be less clustered with all this information at the top. I really don't need all that information at the top. I need to see my bosses. I can only see one boss at any given time on my iPad, which is absolutely ridiculous. It's gotten worse. Eventually you won't be able to see any of the bosses because look at that. You can only see one boss at any given time. It's just gotten absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's a bit better on your phone. You can see a few more bosses, but on your iPad it's just absolutely ridiculous the way they have done this thing. Only one boss you can see at any given time. Garbage, absolute rubbish. I hate that. They need to do something about that. So let's take a look at some of the deck combinations that I've got for you today. So we're dealing with non-event decks. For that, I've recruited my friend Supreme Santa, and Supreme Santa will actually increase all noble killers attack by 200%, and you'll get an extra 10% for every 20 noble killer intensity, up to a maximum of 565. But if you've got 8 or more Power Gem 1s, 8 Power Gem 1s or higher. So Power Gem 1s, 8 Power Gem 1s is the minimum requirement. But if you've got Power Gems above Power Gem 1, as long as you've got more than 8 on the board, it will be times 10, which gives you a massive bang for your buck. Now, it's got a passive that will give you 4 Water Power Gem freeze every free turn. That's not bad. So Supreme Santa is going to be really key to the decks, the non-event decks, even the event decks, because it does boost all noble killer attack. Now I'm using Chief Crew Rylan, which is from this deck, Combat Ready Crew, and that's the card that's gonna give us our killer bonus. Now it's a 2 pink star, so I'm getting 600% increase damage. It does produce a ultimate gem, which we're not too fussy about, doesn't do much. It's got a really good battle skill, so it will create 4 Power Gem 4s. It will increase the number of Power Gem it creates. If you are above 50%, it will give you 4 more, so it can create up to 8 Power Gem 4s. It gives you a heal as well, which is 2000% of hero recovery. And if you're below 50% HP, the heal is double. Above 50% HP, your gems are doubled. Okay, it's got 2 passive. One of the passive, when 8 Water Power Gem 1s or greater on the board, it decreases the damage taken by up to 20% for 1 turn. It starts at 5% and increase by 5% for every 100 skill points. The second passive, when a healing battle skill is used, it will increase self attack by 100% and create 3 Water Power Gem freeze. It can only be triggered once per turn. Now this one is Timeless Lovers. It's a noble killer, Slayer noble killer. It's not really that brilliant because what it does, it applies better together to up to 3 water Slayer hero. Better together creates 1 Water Power Gem 4 each time this hero attacks. It lasts for 1 turn. It's got 5 turn cooldown, which makes it absolutely a ridiculous card, really. The passive, each time it attacks, it creates 1 Power Gem 4. The second passive, if there are 8 or more Water Power Gems on the board, increase Water Slayer Hero's attack for 1 turn by up to 30%. Starts at 7.5% and increase by 7.5% per 100 skill point. It also creates an ultimate gem, but we're not too fussy about ultimate gems. And that's your first combination, and these are all cards from last year. So Supreme Santa was the card that came out last Christmas. Ready Combat Crew came out just a bit before Supreme Santa, around about October, November. I think it was about November last year. And Timeless Lovers, that's the deck that was showcased when Legendary 3.0 was launched. So that is really our card. Now this one it's a bit slower, but it's really powerful. Now it uses Ready Combat Crew to give us the boost in damage. Lost Kingdom Guardians is an arcane killer card. We all know Lost Kingdom Guardian. It's a card that I've showcased many times on this channel before. It creates 7 water power gem 5s. It heals for 200% of hero recovery. And when ambushing, it will double the amount of power gems created. So it can create up to 14 power gems as long as it's the first attack. It's got a revive, it's got haste, it's got rallying wave. If you activate 3 battle skills in succession, it will increase self attack by 100% for 1 turn. And that is the ultra rare for the same deck. What these 2 cards will do is also increase the enemy turn count by 1, which will activate the passive for this card, Jailers. You've heard me speak so many times about Jailers. It doesn't need any introduction. It increases enemy turn count by 1. It creates 5 Earth Power Gem freeze plus 1 more per 100 Arcane Killer intensity. It's got a 6-turn cooldown. The passive is what we are primarily relying on to increase our Arcane Killer's attack by 1200%. So each time a battle skill that delays the enemy turn count is triggered, it will activate this passive, giving us a massive bang for a buck. We're using Defiant Duet. Defiant Duet does a turn delay as well, and it creates power gems based on cards that's got the ability to delay the enemy's turn count. So that's the combination there. Now with Gem Crush 2.0, it's kind of it's a double-edged sword. So if you use a mixed affinity deck, you lose out on the bonus that you get from crushing gems. Because if you crush off affinity gems, say the gems that's created by the Jailers and Defiant Duet is crushed, it gives a boost to those 2 cards, because those gems that are crushed are Earth affinity gems, so the boost goes to Earth affinity cards. Now water power gems, when they are crushed, they give a boost to water cards, so we need to crush as much water affinity power gems as possible to give us a bit of damage increase. Now this one is a cheap and cheerful deck. So this one uses Ready Combat Crew, 2 copies of Crew Chief Rylan, Supreme Santa with Invisible Man. Now Invisible Man is ultra rare. I got a copy of that from the vault yesterday, and I'm just gonna use it and see how well I can do with just 1 card from the current event. So we're gonna jump right in, and we're gonna look for a boss, and we're gonna see how well these decks actually perform. So first up, we're gonna have a look at this combination, and this combination uses the Stalking Sackman. So Stalking Sackman is just an addition to this combination. So I've gotten rid of one of Chief Crew Rylan, and I've put this one in. Let's see how it actually performs. So we're gonna use 1 key, and we're gonna see how good this deck is, this combination is, and then we're gonna work our way up the line, going from the least strongest to the strongest combination that I have been able to put together without the current deck. So we're gonna just activate all our cards from right to left, because that's the way I play, And I'm going to activate Supreme Santa last, because that's when I'll have quite a bit of power gems on the board. So that will give me just the extra boost from his battle skill. So there you go. So for the Invisible Man, I got 2 trillion. So he will be my main damage dealer on that combination. So for 1 key, that wasn't too bad. Could have been better. However, considering it's mostly all cards, I'm really satisfied with that damage. So we're going to move across to the next one. It's used, this one just, it's the same combination with just an additional chief, crew chief Rylan. We're going to use 3 keys. And we're going to see if the damage output is any better. So if we can actually get into the battle. So here we go. Again, I'm just going to activate all my cards from right to left. No particular order. But I guess if you have the event deck, if you've got 2 copies of the Master Collection card, then you can tap into the extra power gem production from your Master Collection card or your ultra rare. So I was looking at the cards yesterday and I couldn't understand what it meant by Bloody Mary Speak, but I now understand that it's when you create stacks of Bloody Mary Speak, the 3rd card, if it is the Master Collection card or the ultra rare, so that one is quite weak. Didn't really do much damage there. Yeah, wasn't really pleased with damage output on that one. So let's move along and see if this one can do any better. I'm going to use 3 keys as well. The reason why I'm using 3 keys is because I want to see the capability of the deck. So if the deck is really good, you'll get really good damage output by just using 3 keys against say a boss like this. So now with this combination, what you want to do is get your Earth Affinity cards powered up quite quickly, because we're gonna get a gem crush when we activate all our cards. The gem crush will actually power up combat ready crew, which should be ready right about now. There we go. Then we activate its battle skill, swap the power gems, and let's see the bang that we get for our buck. So with 1 key, we are actually generating 40 trillion. 40 trillion for one of my main damage dealer, and 30, I think it was about 35 trillion for the other with 1 key. So that combination done far better than its previous counterpart. So that one is much better. And that's using a mixed affinity deck. So mixed affinity deck can still be used. It just depends on the cards that you add to the deck. Now this is my final deck, and this is not going to be more powerful than its previous counterpart. It's going to be less powerful because you haven't got as much attack boost or damage boost as you would have had with the deck using the jailers. So you see that we can still use the jailers, we can still use our performance unit area. So we're gonna go first to Timeless Lovers just to get a few extra power gems from its battle skill, and then we're gonna activate everything else and Secret and Supreme Santa last. So at the side you can see all those lovely power gems, all those lovely gems that keep on jumping just above Secret Santa, Supreme Santa's head. So you can see the damage output on this one is not that great. The previous one was much better, and that's a single affinity. However, probably if you've got the current event deck, you could add Supreme Santa, and that would probably increase the amount of damage produced by your deck. The thing about Supreme Santa, I keep calling it Secret Santa, I don't know why. The thing about Supreme Santa is it increases your damage as your intensity increase. So as Noble Killer intensity increases, it increases the number of increases the amount of damage that your deck is able to produce. So if you've got a longer fight, say against an Inferno boss, then your deck will do more damage as time goes on. So don't rule out Supreme Santa. It's a very useful card, even though it's got a 6-turn cooldown. It's a very useful card. But I would say of all the combination that I came up with, this one performs the best. Combat Ready Crew to give us the killer skill. Then we got Lost Kingdom Guardian, Watcher of the Waves, and Jailers in combination with Defiant Do It. And that is something that can really perform really well within the event. For farming, you probably just use a single affinity deck to go through the guild bosses quite quickly. They're not very strong, so you don't have to be producing quite massive damage output to take out the guild bosses. However, against the solo bosses, you have to be producing quite high damage, and it's early in the first day of the event, so the bosses will get stronger, and a lot of people will start using different deck because people are trying out different deck combination, and somebody will find a deck combination that's got really decent power behind it. So that's it. So I'm actually enjoying the deck. I'm enjoying Gem Crush 2.0. I think it presents us with new challenges going forward. I think the concept behind it is not too bad. You can actually replicate the same amount of damage over and over. The only thing about it, I'm not really seeing like Power Gem 15s, 20s. I'm not seeing those type of Power Gems anymore. However, the decks are performing relatively well. You can replicate the same damage over and over, which is what we actually want. We're not seeing those crazy damage at the moment. Probably later on, as time progresses, we will see decks doing those crazy damage once again. But for now, we have to get used to the new mechanic. I really like new mechanic. However, I'm not really liking the screen. It's absolute rubbish that I can only see one boss at a time on iPad, which the screen is really massive. They need to do something about that. Get rid of most of the stuff on this screen. We don't need to see all of this information all the time. The information that I'm really interested in at any given time on my screen is basically the guild leader scoreboard, the player scoreboard, and yeah, that's all we really need to see. You can tap on some form of tab and you can go in, and then you can look at the ultimate eras. You can look at your collection, frenzy, when the countdown to frenzy. We don't really need to see that. Prestige, you get an indication every time you prestige up anyway, so you don't really need to have that on your screen all the time, especially when you get to maximum prestige. You don't really need to see that all the time, so those need to go. Really and truly need to go. The keys at the top, that tells you monster mash, and it tells you the amount of keys that you have. That doesn't need to take up all that space up at the top. It really needs to be redesigned. Really needs to be redesigned, so we can see at least 5 boss at any given time on the screen. Okay, so that's all I've got for you. Hopefully this helps you to actually come up with a combination from the cards that you've got in your collection. Just play around with the cards, see what works, what doesn't work. That's all you need to do, and then you can basically just keep swapping out cards. Depend on what you've actually got in a collection, because not all of us has got really good collection, because I've been playing for a long time and I've been really lucky this year to get some really good cards. So I've got a wide variety. I haven't got all the cards, but I've got a wide variety of cards. Plus this Finnick thing. I'm just collecting them to dust them anyway. Not really interested in Finnicks. Alright, so that's it for me today. So like, subscribe, and as always, is Octane in peace. Stay healthy, stay safe. Have a great day and enjoy the event. Until next video, bye for now.